The first thing is just a presentation of my initial background. I come from this building, the Computer Vision Center, and my background is artificial intelligence, is computer vision, which is the artificial intelligence of images and videos. And in my presentation, I will try to provide some examples on how to use this artificial intelligence also in order to support the cultural and creative industries ecosystem. I will also provide a number of examples because I think that today is a good day for libraries, for public libraries, and I will provide also some examples of libraries as well. But here the key concept is that we are researchers that are doing a technology transfer, and this technology transfer is creating an impact in our society. This research is the base of our innovation, and this impact can be translated in different ways, and also in different scenarios. You know that we are using computer vision everywhere in our mobile phones, also with the autonomous car, also in medical imaging in order to detect pathologies, etc., but also in the field of culture. And this is important and relevant to understand that since culture and creativity is an area that is also changing dramatically with the addition of technology, both for the possibility of connection of the internet, but also for the tools that we are having. As a matter of fact, our neural networks eventually are starting painting and are starting designing and are starting creating new things, mimicking features that before they were only assumed to the human beings. We will not enter in this discussion. We will leave this for a completely different discussion. But definitely key is culture in the construction of a community. And community is the base also that I will, the concept that I will touch upon in a few slides. Culture is understood also the symbolic space where our society is built in parallel to the physical spaces that we are using in order to share our life, such as public libraries, such as museums or streets themselves as well. And this sector is also for an economic impact with some features that we will go over in a few seconds. Has to be lively and dynamic. Fran already mentioned a number of actions that they have been doing together with the Fundació Èpica de la Fuga dels Baus. So we can have these two dimensions, right? The culture of this common symbolic space, and also the creative and cultural industry as a business, as niche for socioeconomic impact. This is probably being affected very much for the COVID-19 disease and the pandemic of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Definitely, this has been affecting the fact that cultural and creative sector is a fragmented sector with a lot of diverse approaches in the different, let's say, companies that used to be small or micro firms, a lot of freelance professionals. So this is one of the features that we can find in the creative and cultural and all the industries based on the experience, Experience is a strong keyword in my presentation as well. Definitely, this has had an effect, and we have seen that in the European Network of Living Labs for the different webinars that we have done online, with a loss of revenue because we have been forced in order to reduce the auditorium, in order to reduce the audience that is attending to the performances, who is attending to the museums, to libraries. They have shut down in the initial stages of the pandemic, and they have been rethinking themselves as well. So for that, it is also true that we have new challenges and opportunities in terms of communication, because we have lived an increased process of digitalization in our lives. 2 years ago, we usually had probably 1, 2 Skype conferences during our week. Now, this is our day by day, our hour by hour. Previously, I was sharing another conference also in the with a completely different platform, right? This has been evolving also in a digital culture. So we human beings have been developing during a very fast, a very short amount of time at a very fast pace, our digital approach, also our digital identity. And particularly, we have been speaking about that in the Data Week, a conference that is taking place also during this week. Our digital identities that we don't know what it is yet, but that we are living with thanks to our data. And increase interactivity between the agents, and definitely the possibility, as we have seen in some of the presentations of the cases of success, new artistic and creative formats and way of doing that. So we have an hypothesis. The hypothesis is living labs, and we will go into the definition, are an effective tool for the creative and cultural sector to become more dynamic, impactful, and with higher level of engagement. And when we mean engagement, we're meaning engagement at all levels, including citizen engagement. So this is the hypothesis that I would like to develop during these minutes. First of all, let me introduce the core of this hypothesis, living labs. Living labs, at least in the way that I will present today, are presented in the context of the European Network of Living Labs. The European Network of Living Labs was born in 2006, so it's a teenager organization, now international non-for-profit, that even though it is called European Network of Living Labs, it is a global movement. It's a global movement that is gathering the living labs around the world, these multi-stakeholder, citizen-centric innovation approaches in order to foster positioning the citizen in the center of all the actions, facilitating the knowledge exchange, capacity building, creation of consortia, and also influencing UE policies and international policies on the way. But what is a living lab? I prepared this one slide that in some way summarizes these features that a living lab can share. The first thing is living labs are about innovation. Open innovation ecosystems, and we have heard about the term open innovation in the previous presentations, but with some particular features. This feature is that there is a citizen-centric approach. So the emphasis in this open innovation ecosystems is the participatory component of the citizens. This is implemented in something that we call the multiple helix approach. In this case, we have a quadruple helix, meaning that we are having industry, in this case, the cultural and creative industries, the academia, the research institutes and the universities, the government, the public institutions such as municipalities or regional governments or national or international associations, and also the people, the citizens themselves in terms of associations or at individual level. We can expand this four helix at a multiple helix approach if we include the territory and the sustainability, the green approach, the circular economy. This would be because of that we talk about multiple helix and not only about four helix. So which are the basic features of the living labs? First of all, they are real life settings, and we have seen some examples and we will see more. We are talking about, for instance, public libraries or hospitals or a street, or we could be thinking about a living lab that it is in a field, in a crop field, in the area of agriculture. So this is the first component, and this is relevant because we need an active user involvement, and this can only happen in real life settings. In this area, we are talking also about processes of co-creation. Processes of co-creation together all these actors of the four helix. That means that it is not that we are asking citizens for their ideas as only. The idea is just to try to put the citizen in the center. So that means that the co-creation process is participated within together with the citizens, right? In this approach, the perception of this citizen-centric view is having citizens as actors of the transformative processes and not factors. And all these things provides an orchestration of multi-methodological approach of these partners. So this is a quite open process, right, that we have been implementing in ENoLL in different verticals. These verticals are social innovation and digital rights, social impact of artificial intelligence, health and well-being, energy and environment, and rural living labs. Why these 5 verticals? Well, because we know that we have critical mass of living labs in our community of labs that can connect to external partners, not necessarily living labs or other that we will like to become a living lab, in order to exchange knowledge and to create a narrative for the innovation approaches on each vertical. This is very important because we have also these transversal components. For instance, the smart city, Internet of Things is probably linked at a transversal way around those. So we know that we have critical mass and with that we can have some take some conclusions for this critical mass approach. What we have been doing, particularly in the Computer Vision Center, is try to explore how technology transforms the cultural experience of people. In this context, that we are part of a group of living labs that are willing to tackle social innovation, right, by using technology as the enabling factor. So we have created the Library Living Lab as a pilot in the metropolitan area of Barcelona that has had an enormous impact in the definition of the network of libraries. And this is something that definitely I would like to put emphasis in. You can see here the place where the Library Living Lab is in an urban context in the metropolitan area of Barcelona. This is a public library in which we co-designed together with the members of with the neighbors of this neighborhood, a neighborhood that suffered a lot from the bubble crash in 2011, and they had nothing. They didn't have services in a very, very young neighborhood. So they fought a lot with the municipality so that they could have a public library and they wanted something technological there related to technology. So we, the Computer Vision Center, thought that it could be a good idea to work together with them. And you can see in the second part, the 4 helix sitting around the table: the university, the association of neighbors, and the municipality of Sant Cugat, which is the owner of the public library, and the regional governor of Barcelona, understanding that the companies will join at a project level, the project level that will be decided together around this governance model. And the governance model arises here are one of the challenges of the innovation processes. Here, one of the consequences after a number of years of working in this pilot of the Library Living Lab is that now the network of more than 230 public libraries of Barcelona has scaled up the Library Living Lab concept towards a program which is called Bibliolab. And in this Bibliolab, in the logo, they have create, innovate, and experiment. And I want to stop here, because this provides a systemic transformation of a place-based approach generated like a seed in a small library of the metropolitan area of Barcelona. When you put a seed on a place, it can grow out, and now it can evolve to something more complex, which is the way in which the network of public libraries in Barcelona are using, for instance, citizen science, open innovation strategies, and how can they connect with the SMEs in order to get new products and services. And the type of products and services that we have, and I know that we have a very restricted time. For that reason, I provided you with this QR that you can focus with your camera and you can see a lot of videos. We have a number of videos here. But for instance, we have identified the use of educational apps together with teachers, and also the visiting the museums and breaking the walls between museums and public libraries, the role of 3D printing in a library, and also if I'm not wrong, it was Laura who was talking about storytelling. So we have an example of storytelling, and probably if I can share my screen, ignore my hairdressing. This was years ago, and well, Nothing has changed a lot, probably less here, and that's it. So what we had here is that you know that there is the storytelling hour. In the storytelling hour, what usually happens, I'm going to stop this for a second, is that we have a storyteller that comes to the library and tells a story to the children. So what we wanted to do is to use technology in order to modify, to go further as the service. And what we did, we worked with an SME, a small SME, in order to create a new workshop. And in this workshop, first the children created their script, their story. Then they created their characters and also the scenarios. They painted them with our tools. And then in the second day of the workshop, after it was a 5-hour workshop, they made the theatralization, the dramatization of this process. So it was a co-creation process of one piece of dramatic art. But the interesting thing here is that these pictures that they had was projected into the screen. And with a motion detection system that you can see on the top of the video wall here of the screen, the motion of the body, you see they open there, there's a Kinect device, was projected into their own characters. So with this, we created a new thing, which is a digital object. And this digital object opens a question to the library, which is, where do I put a co-created digital object? Libraries do not know how to do that, because they usually have just one arrow, is to providing a service. So this is a new service that opens the way to tackling the challenges of new ways of approaches of storytelling. We have implemented also this type of technological approach in this by doing, in order to unveiling the social impact of AI. I wouldn't talk too much about this because we don't have too much time, but I want to mean is that citizen science is now becoming an enormous possibility in order to approach our researchers to spaces such as public libraries, and in order to open this debate for artificial intelligence and this debate for the new technologies. It's an enormous thing because, for instance, in Catalonia, all the students in high school, they have to do a final year research project, a final year research project. That means that every year we have 20,000 plus research works. So we want to include this knowledge generation action into the libraries and to understand how the universities and the municipalities can work in a challenge-based approach, so that our citizen scientists can now empower themselves with the power of science. So another example of this, and also linking public libraries with galleries and archives and museums, what we call GLAMs, is a process of photogrammetry in which we created a process. We innovated in the process. Photogrammetry implies that we have to take a lot of pictures of for example, the cloister capitals that we are having here, one of the jewel of the crown of the Romanesque sculpture in Catalonia. So we did that and we created this process, and then the users of the library went to the museum, which is a cloister, and took a lot of photos for that. With those photos, we created a 3D model. We provided capacity building in order to create these models. By the end of the day, what we had is a catalog. The citizens created this catalog. You still have here the, and this of course has a potential impact in technology transfer. You can see, for instance, in one of the models that we are having here, and you will see that you could identify. This was done with a mobile phone after taking more than 80 photographs around there. But you can see that, for instance, you can see that there is elements of polychromy that you cannot see there if you are in the monastery, right? Because you cannot stand up and look so close. And eventually that can be used in also for companies to provide services such as the monitoring of the artifacts, and to see if they have been broken and if they are still with the same state as they used to have. So we have a catalog of these cloisters now created by the citizens. And so in the good thing about that is that now citizens become the co-creators of the city's cultural digital heritage. And this is very important because we are not only going to enjoy this, but we are going also to be part of it, to create it. If we now use a 3D printer, and we learn how to do it in the library as well, we can also provide an inclusive approach with blind people. Let me please use my last 3 minutes into 2 other examples in which we can reuse our heritage. For instance, we had a project with the 5 centuries of marriages in the Cathedral of Barcelona. We have all the story of 5 centuries of marriages, with something very important, which is the money that the families paid for that. So with computer vision techniques, we can spot the words, make connections, and understand with the Demographics Studies Institute of Barcelona the evolution of the economic power of the families of Barcelona. And this is important because if we can do it with one manuscript archive, we can do it with a number of archives. And then what we did is to extend that to a number of archives of the metropolitan area of Barcelona. And then the human factor comes here because we asked the people to identify and to try to interpret all these parts that were not clear for the algorithm to identify. And with that, and with the knowledge that the people have about the archives, for instance, no, I know this picture, and this picture was my grandfather, and my grandfather, I know that he had a friend, and this friend was this name, etc., etc. So this is a citizen science project in which the participation of the people helps the artificial intelligence algorithms to evolve. And the Give Back is a website in which we can interlink physical archives with human archives with multimedia contents. And this is part of a European project, a European approach, which is the European Time Machine, which is basically aiming at having the European Facebook historical. Okay, we have a number of other actions, and now I'm finishing, in the European network of living labs. For instance, our colleagues in the United Kingdom are mixing also the use of art for unfavored communities. And these unfavored communities usually are those more affected for the digital bridge, for the gap that we are having in accessing the new technology that we are having. They are not the early adopters. They are usually taking apart. And there is a strong component of inclusion and social discussion through art, because art is something that we can all have access to if we are given the possibility. You had the chance to know more about what Fran and their colleagues are doing also in La Fura dels Baus at Bibliolab. But I would like to mention here that there is a component here of capacity building by doing these things. And this is something that probably I would like to put emphasis. We participated with our researchers in some of these performances, and the final comeback that let's say that the people working on that program, working with Fran on that program had, is that they could show in their CVs that they developed some capacities that provides them with a competitive approach to the market. And some of them are disfavored populations as well. So this is an element in which technology can be perceived also as a positive contribution, not only as a risk. Finally, I would like also to mention the job done with our colleagues in the Basque Country, the Guernica's Music Living Lab, which was born from the political culture plan that was in 2019. So here we have to understand also that when I was speaking about the cloister capitals, this is material heritage, but we have immaterial heritage as well, and the storytelling, as mentioned by Laura as well, is one of those, but music it is too. So they have been working in order to establish collaboration and in order to understand how the different people from the territory can provide this dimension of a material heritage. So I would definitely give my slides for sharing. If you need to know more about Living Labs, you can also consult the publication list at ENoLL.org. Please, if you want to join our community, the ENoLL Digital Living Lab Days is the second week of September, and we have a learning tool. Capacity building, as I was mentioning, is essential in the digital transformation in order to not leaving anyone behind. And we opened a program for virtual learning lab that has 8 weeks for capacity building in open innovation, citizen-centric technologies, social technologies, and the next one will be during the autumn. So I think that with that I use my 25 minutes. So thank you very much.